Now, one of the things that I love about pictures, and I think you do have this at home. You know those old pictures that you have? That every time you bring it out, you kind of like, what I was doing? Pictures that are funny in our younger days, different hairstyle, different outfit. And, again, when you bring it out, you'll say, what was I thinking? I always see it in a wedding or anniversaries, and they show the slides, and they have this, let's just call it ugly pictures. The other night, Sheila brought out here old pictures when I think she was in the kindergarten, and I was the one taking care of her before she goes to school. And the one day it was a picture day. And so I just put the hair, what do you call that thing? Just one standing over here, and she brought it out the other night, and we were just having fun laughing, and she was blaming me for it. But those days, the cameras had films. Because they were film, you didn't get to preview the pictures, or so you can pick and choose which one you want. You have to develop the whole film. Remember those films like 12 exposure, 24 exposure? And you wonder how the pictures is gonna come out. So the only time that, for your younger generation who do not know what is film is, the only time you would see the pictures is after they were developed. By then, it's too late. You got to have the good, the bad, and the ugly pictures. And then those ugly pictures are the ones they show on your birthday parties. But, those pictures are part of your life. Unlike today, we have now digital cameras. We have cameras where after you take a picture, you can preview it, you can take a look at it, and delete the ones you do not like. Or even, what do you call that? Photoshop it. Okay. To make sure you look good. You delete the ones you do not like. You look at it as like, man, I look like I gained some weight here. So either you Photoshop it or you delete it. I think it's the cameras nowadays is no fun. You don't get to see the ugly pictures. But don't you wish, and I think all of us could only wish that life is like that, where you can just delete all the bad and the uglies and keep the good experiences in life, or Photoshop it. And like today, before you post anything on Facebook, you can pick and choose. But life, again, is not like that. We cannot just pick and choose only the good and pretty ones and dump the ugly ones. I mean, come to think of it, I think we really try our best to delete the ugly ones that comes our way. I mean, one good example is that when we ask for testimonies, Like if you're gathered to Bible studies or in Zoom Bible studies or even in Christmas Sunday mornings, when we ask people to give testimonies, it's always about the good ones. That's the fastest way we could bring out the good experiences in life. We're like, thank God, because we have food, I got a job, or I'm healed, and all that. But most of the time, we don't bring out the bad and the ugly. We try not to mention it. So now that we are celebrating Christmas and about to exit the year 2020, and as we know it, the year 2020 was not a smooth and pretty year. It's been a year with lots of things going on. Many people, and I've heard many people, even on TV, just like thinking of just deleting 2020 or just can't wait to get over with and start 2021. The year 2020 is filled with so many bad and ugly experiences. Just the pandemic. It's caused a lot of death. People are losing loved ones. We lost one here in our church by Archie. I'm pretty sure, and I know that it is hard for his family and for some of us. A lot of businesses have closed. And many people have lost their business, and schools have to go on distant learning. And I don't know if the kids really love that, because I know they like to see their friends. There's so much fear and anxiety, and there's an increase of depression. People lost their jobs, and lives are forever changed. Then you have the riots. People go out into the street demanding social equality. And then there's a not so finished election. This year, 2020, is just filled with so many things that we wish, or a lot of people wish, that we could just delete it and forget, or kind of modify it. But again, that is not life. The question is, what shall we do with the bad and the ugly? Or even the good? How do we celebrate Christmas in the midst of pandemic? How do we celebrate Christmas in the midst of chaos and uncertainties? Is there anything to celebrate about? Christmas is supposed to be a time to marry, a time to have a joyful celebration, a time of peace. Oftentimes I hear people say, it's Christmas time, but somebody is missing in the family. It's Christmas time, but I lost my job. It's Christmas time, but I'm sick. It's Christmas time, but I'm away from home. Christmas is always associated with a positive, joyful celebration. A sad and ugly Christmas is not acceptable to many. So how do we celebrate Christmas? Well, James has something to say and have instructed us what to do with the good, even the bad and the ugly. We can certainly use his instruction to celebrate Christmas this year, 2020. Let's read from James chapter 1, verses 2 to 4. Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles of any kind come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. Because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. If we want to have a Merry Christmas, do not just count the good as the source of your joy. That's what James is saying. If we want to celebrate Christmas with a good celebration, do not just count the good as the source of your joy, but also count the bad and the ugly as the source of your joy this Christmas. He's basically saying, do not pick and choose in this life. Do not delete, but instead count it all joy. To begin with, we do not have much of a choice. When the bad and the ugly comes, they will come. In fact, you do not have to go looking for it. They will come. Okay? So, James here is not suggesting that we jump for joy when we lose our job, or throw a party when you get sick. But instead, he's telling us to look beyond the obvious suffering and find the real reason of the bad and the ugly. I'm pretty sure none of us here will, if we lose our job, we'll call up our friends like, come on over my house. I'm having a lechon because I lost my job. Come on over my house because, let's celebrate because I have COVID-19. Nobody will go to your house anyway. You have that. That's not what James is saying. He's not saying that let's celebrate. When he said, count it all joy. And he said, all. All. The word all means all. Not just a few, not just one or two or a couple, but all. Count it all joy. Again, he's not suggesting that you jump with joy or you throw a party and have a celebration because you just lost your job or something bad will happen. But he gives us 3 reasons why we should welcome the bad and the ugly with joy. The first one here is the testing of faith. The number one reason to welcome it with pure joy is that your faith is tested. That means only one thing. If your faith is being tested, that means only one thing. That means you have faith. Because if you do not have faith, then there's nothing to test. Okay? There's nothing to test. Every time, like in a Bible study, every time I will mention, I think last couple of Bible studies ago, I said that we're going to have an exam tonight. And everybody let me log out first, or maybe later we'll have a test. Because nobody likes the test. Nobody likes an exam. So, whenever a test is mentioned, I will always get a negative facial reaction or something that is not welcome. So, test is given to test your knowledge when it comes to school or Bible study. The test is given to test your knowledge because you have knowledge. If you do not have knowledge, then what is there to test for? Okay? So many times we think of, do I have enough faith? The only way is for you to find out if you have enough faith is for your faith to be tested. Now, what's going on this year, this pandemic? I believe that God allowed this pandemic to test our faith. To test our faith. We had a pastors round table discussion the other night, and just get together on Zoom with the rest of the pastors of the assembly, just to encourage one another, just to see how's everybody doing during this pandemic. And I shared this to them, that as pastors, we need to show our faith in the decisions that we make during this pandemic. We need to make a wise decision. When we make a decision during this pandemic, I said, we need to show that we have faith. Because 99.9%, if it's not 100%, of what we preach has something to do with faith. So during this pandemic, we as pastors need to make decisions based on faith, not fear. Because if we don't, then there's nothing for us left to preach about. I said, our faith is being tested. As pastors, our faith is being tested. How do we respond to a situation like this? And the reason why we're tested is because there's something greater that God is doing. So testing is very important. It is an essential part of life. How many? Now, let me talk about this vaccine. Okay. I know there's a lot of things that has been said about this vaccine. Some people say there is a conspiracy. Some people say there's this, this is the work of the Antichrist and all that. Okay? There's so many things going on. But let me just ask you this question. If they develop those vaccines overnight, never been tested, and they will come out and say, well, we come up with a vaccine. Anybody ready? No. You don't want to get it. It has to be tested. It has to be put to the test to make sure that it works, to make sure that it's safe, to make sure that it will bring positive results. That's why our faith needs to be tested. Because if we don't have faith, then what is there to be tested? So we do not have to delete, we don't have to forget about what's going on this year, this pandemic, because this is worldwide, and I believe this is a wake-up call to our faith. It is a precursor to the return of Christ. I mean, just listen to what Jesus said in Luke chapter 18, verse 8. Jesus said this, well, when the Son of Man returns, let me repeat that. When the Son of Man returns, when Jesus returned, he said, how many will he find on the earth who have faith? Jesus is saying, when I return, will I still find faith? That means that in the last days, a lot of people will abandon their faith. And the Bible was very clear of that. Now, how do we know that we have abandoned our faith? We have to be tested. We have to be tested. So if you feel that you have been put to the test and you feel pressure, count it all joy. Your faith is being put to the test. And if you are still standing, it's a reason for us to celebrate. It's a big reason for us to celebrate if we are still standing during this pandemic. So again, James tells us that it is a testing of our faith. Count it all joy when you're put to the test. Second reason why we need to count it all joy is that endurance or growth of your faith. Our faith needs to grow. On one occasion, Jesus was asked by his disciples. His disciples said, "Lord, show us how to increase our faith." Have you prayed that prayer? Do you desire to grow your faith? This is the question of the disciples of the Lord Jesus Christ. Lord, increase our faith. Jesus answered something like this. He said to them, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can tell a mulberry tree to be uprooted and it will obey you." What Jesus was saying is that if you want to increase your faith, use it. Use it. So first of all, our faith will be tested, and we need to count it all joy. And then the second one is that we go through trials and difficult times so that our faith will grow. Now, again, Jesus said, use your faith. If you want to see your faith grow, use it. I am convinced that the good, the bad, and the ugly are the ugliest in 2020 have stirred all of us in using our faith like never before. Many times we find ourselves helpless against this pandemic. We tried to follow the guidelines, the CDC guidelines. But there are times if I'm staying home and I start feeling, my body's getting hot. Just like, is this the one now coming, COVID-19? And without known medicine out there to cure it, it put us in a place where only you and God, nobody else. Because there's nothing else that you could grab onto. There's no one else that could help you. It put us in a place where it's only God and us. That really put us in a situation where our faith is being stirred up to hang on to God. Because there's nothing else. It's like you're left in the middle of the ocean where you're so helpless and the sharks are swimming around you. And all you can do is call to God. So this pandemic really is, for me, it stirred up our faith to hang on to God so that we will grow our faith. Count it all joy, because your faith is being tested and your faith is being stirred up to grow into something much greater. The third reason to count the bad and the ugly is joy, because it brings maturity Maturity brings blessings. God is not ready to pour out his blessings on a person whose faith is childish. Let me repeat that. God is not going to pour out his blessings or allow somebody to enjoy his blessings whose faith is childish. We found that out from the 10 spies. The 10 spies, the 12 spies that were sent into to spy the promised land. 10 spies, faith were childish. I don't know if we could even use childish because the child has more faith, I think. Right? Children has more faith than adult. Because when you tell a small kid to do something, they will believe it. But God is not ready to allow a person whose faith is weak to enjoy his blessing. That's what happened to the 10 spies. The blessing that God promised to them, the promised land, was right at their mouth. All they had to do was to open their mouths and God will just feed them. God was ready to put the blessings in their hands. All they had to do was to open their hands, but they were too immature to receive it. All they did was complain. Their faith was immature. You know, complaining to God is a sign of immaturity. You know, like, how come they have more? And I don't. Or, how come I'm not blessed? Or, it's giving time again. So that's a person with immature faith. That's what happened. Okay? Again, you can try to observe a Christian who is mature in their faith. People that are mature in this faith, they are blessed and they don't spend their days complaining. Instead, they welcome the good, the bad, and the ugly. The faith is being tested so that it will grow, and when it grows, you will come into maturity. Count it all joy. Now, many of you know that I had a car accident last month. Somebody rear-ended my car. And when I got hit and then, parked on the side and the other person that just hit me came out, and I was like, in my mind, I did not tell her this. I was like, why? Or you did this? It's like there was anger in me, and I was even like, Lord, why did you allow this to happen? I'm just driving here peacefully and I'm doing nothing. I'm just doing my thing. Why did you allow it to happen? But you know what? Let me backtrack. That car is old car. It's 2003. So that's, how many miles. And that car, I'm scared to drive it every time. I have to open the window because it smells gas. It's like it's ready to explode. And I was looking at, and then the engine light is on. Sometimes it doesn't start. And I was thinking, I need to, get another car. So I look at the value of it. You go to, what is this? Kelly's Blue Book. And like, trade-in value, guess how much? It's $800. So well, what can you get from this? So I got in an accident, and so I took it to the shop, and the shop says, this is how much this is how much it's gonna cost to repair it. So we're gonna, send this information to your insurance. And the insurance came back and said, well, the repair, the cost of repair for your exceeds the value of your car. So we will just declare it total loss. And so I said, how much? I said, it's 4,700 or something. And then we'll ask the other insurance to pay for the deductible, so you'll get, close to 5,000. So when I heard that, I was like, I want to find that girl that hit me that rear-ended me, and shake her hand and say, thank you. Go like, thank you for, hitting me in the back. Because now my car, the value, so now I can get, I cannot afford a brand new one, but at least it's going to be something a little bit better. See, initially, I was like complaining, like, Lord, why did you allow this to happen? Or tell that girl that hit me, like, why did you do that? This is life. This is what James is talking about. Count it all joy, because when our faith is being tested, when our faith is growing, it means only one thing: there's something bigger that God is preparing for you. There's something much better that God is about to bring to you. So that's why count it all joy. So whatever happened this year, 2020, all the bad things that happened here in 2020, we can incorporate it into the celebration for this Christmas. As a matter of fact, I believe that we can have a better celebration when we don't just count all the good things, but if we also count the bad things, the ugly things, and the not so good things that happened in this year, we can have a much better celebration. Because God has proven himself. I want to give you another reason to celebrate, and I'm closing this Christmas in spite of. That's a special number. The song that was sang here for special number was a very beautiful song. O Holy Night. And we used to sing that, of course, when, like Brother Roy mentioned, that in the Philippines, when you were young, you used to go out caroling. We have this. Oh, we have improvised musical instruments before. We used to make noise with the tansan. The tansan, for your younger generation, the tansan. There's the cap on the bottle, the crown thing. Okay, we flatten it and then we make it as cymbals. Okay, that's our musical instrument. And we sing a song. One of the songs that we used to sing is O Holy Night, even though we do not really know what we're small, we do not know English, so we just follow whatever. But I'm going to try to sing that. Just one verse of the song. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of the song. And this song is really, there's something here in this song that would give us really a reason to celebrate. So let me sing. Okay, I'm not as good as Brother Roy and Brother. Okay. Again, my voice is only good for caroling. Okay. I think I'm going to start too high now. Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. it is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the word in sin and error pining, till he appears and the soul filled its world. A thrill of hope. Stop. The next words, I want us to really put it into heart. Okay, because I believe that the next words really fits into this Christmas 2020. It says, the weary world rejoices. The weary world rejoices. Weary means tired, burnout, exhausted. After 10 months of dealing with this pandemic, and now it's Christmas, the world is so weary. You and I are also weary. We're exhausted. But we can rejoice. And the next line gives us the reason why we can rejoice. It says, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. For yonder, beyond the horizon. This song is telling us that it is not always dark. It is not always night. A new day is dawning. We can celebrate Christmas because of the Lord Jesus Christ. For yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Are you trying to find a reason to celebrate Christmas? You do not have to look for it. Because it is included in the good, the bad, the ugly, and the ugliest that has happened this year. There is something that God is preparing us for. Something much bigger. And the song says, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. If I call the worship team to just come back here and just sing us as we stand together, let's just